to go live. It says we're live. You are live. That's right. And we have people waiting, Bloom.
Yeah.
We don't want to leave people waiting.
No, it's good, though. Anticipation, being fashionably late. I never practiced that. Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? Can you describe it?
Being fashionably late?
Yes.
Making an entrance. It means that people notice when you show up.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
You like us. You really, really like us. All right, let's do this thing in 3, 2. Oh, whoops, I forgot to give the. There we go. Mwah. To everyone out there. 3, 2, and 1. Thursday Night Football is a not good game, but a great game. It is the Rams. It is Seattle. The Rams looking to bounce back, Bloom, looking to beat up on the Seahawks in Seattle. And is this a Robert Woods week? That's what we should start with and perhaps focus on, mainly because Seattle's secondary is not so very good at football. And Fantasy GMs have been wondering. They've been happy for the most part with the Rams, but they've also been wondering, when can I get more from Robert Woods? So how will the Rams give him more if they do? Or how do they attack Seattle on Thursday night?
Yeah, this is a nice one to start the slate. Thursday night games. Actually, last week's Thursday night game was a surprise, wonderful game to watch. And this will be revealing either way, but it's a great NFC West matchup. Two teams coming in off of NFC West matchups, and we kicked it off at the beginning of the year talking about how these are 4 playoff quality teams, and it's going to be fun to watch how this plays out. And this is watching how it plays out. With the Rams, last week they got humbled by Arizona. Meanwhile, Seattle ground out a tough road win at Santa Clara. So coming in, I think that you're going to see a lot of Darrell Henderson. Henderson's playing well. Since we're not talking about it enough. It's a good offense. It's a good running game. And Seattle is tired. They're chasing Derrick Henry. They're chasing Alexander Madison. Last week it's Trey Sermon and Trey Lance. So it's a short week of rest. That sounds like Darrell Henderson to me. Michelle fumbled in his short period in last week. So it's Henderson's job. Stafford's going to go to Cups. Like you said, Woods, what's the squeaky wheel when the wheel isn't actually what's squeaking? It's the driver squeaking. It's McVay squeaking.
Right.
So I think, yes, it could be a Bobby Trees day. We're watching Van Jefferson and Deshaun Jackson. They have a fantasy pulse because this offense is so good, because they're good. There's always injury upside there. With Higbee, you have those ups and downs, but I think you're going to ride it out with him. Remember, Ross Dwelly scored last week. Kittle had 4 catches. So it's there against Seattle. I think this Seattle defense is weary. I think this is going to be an offensive football game. And remember, it's going to be played in Seattle. So we're getting used to that 12th man, getting used to the crowd effect, back in effect in the NFL.
Back in effect and in Seattle. And Bloom, with the Seahawks, it's basically the same as it ever was. We already know. We know the rhythm. We know the players to rely on. Maybe a dash more of Alex Collins, I suppose. The Seattle side's a lot less interesting, although could be quite dramatic and dynamic for your fantasy teams on Thursday.
So I want to talk about the Seahawks first, though, because I have to take advantage of this opportunity to say that Marshawn Lynch is the chief brand ambassador for the NFLPA.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that odd? He's getting closer and closer to being our president, Cease. It's my president. Remember, take care of your
mental. Pretty happy with Marshawn.
Yeah, I would be. And he's perfect, the perfect brand ambassador. And again, like Marshawn tells us, take care of your mentals and take care of your chicken.
You know why Marshawn works so well? And this is actually a pretty far-reaching topic. I didn't want to get into politics.
Sorry.
5 minutes into the show, but I'll tell you this, dude. You know why he works so well? Because he's real.
Yeah,
you know what people don't like? People don't like fake stuff. We got too much fake stuff roaming around. People like real. Marshawn is real.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it works. Not because he's made up. He's not a brand by attempting to be a brand. He's a brand because he's himself.
Yeah.
I think that's very important for all of us to note.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that Marshawn Lynch represents. Well, look, Cease, the world rewards a lot of that fake stuff. So it's up to each of us to make that choice every day. And we can't help but be ourselves. The Seahawks coming up, that resounding road win. Alex Collins, lead story here because Chris Carson, Cease, we didn't know this whenever we were recording yesterday. Chris Carson misses practice with a neck injury. Ooh. So Alex Collins in effect, and bump up the numbers if you haven't put in your waiver wire bids yet there. Russell Wilson, we're so excited about this offense going into the year. It's had its bumps in the road. Last week, most of the first half was just miserable. First down was like birthing a baby against San Francisco's defense, but they came on. You have to play Lockett, you have to play DK Metcalf. You know that Jalen Ramsey is lurking. You know that this could be for Seattle. That's the thing about these NFC West matchups. No matter how good these offenses are, sometimes they can get into stalemates and defensive battles. I don't know. Seattle's defense is tired. The Rams' defense got exposed by Kyler Murray last week. One other thing to watch here, Gerald Everett could be back from the COOF list. You still have Freddie Swain doing some things as teams are more preoccupied with Lockett and Metcalf. Fantasy is pretty straightforward in this game season. I'm just excited to watch this one. This one's going to get the blood flowing for an early rise on Sunday morning.
Yeah, we're going to get the blood flowing for that early rise. By the way, I love our chat room. Speaking of real, oh my God, it's English. MGD. Mm-hmm. Says Lynch, Eric Stoner, 2024. Mm-hmm. You'd be like the campaign manager of that, right, Will?
Yeah, I think we can pull that off, the California ticket.
So we get some buttons ready. All right, it is time to go then to the show in London, and it is the Jets and it is the Falcons. And why do I get the sneaking feeling that the Jets are going to put on a show? Why do I get the sneaking feeling that, and it comes from Robert Saleh. Mm-hmm. Like when you don't have the talent yet, but you have that intent and you have everyone in the locker room buying on board. They're definitely on board. The Jacksonville thing, there's some interesting things coming up. But we'll have to share some notes behind the scenes about what we've heard from our Jacksonville buddies. But they love Robert Saleh. They love him. They're behind him. You're seeing some flashes from Zach Wilson, right? So, Corey Davis, more confidence there. Michael Carter, more confidence there. It's against the Falcons. Now it's the London thing, early start, whatever. And the Jets, what's London from New York? Like 5 hours, whatever, something like that.
Flying to California, flying cross country.
Exactly. Yeah, they're fine. They'll be fine. And they're facing an opponent that they can beat. The Jets can build some momentum here.
Yeah, winning streak, exactly. See, this on the schedule a few weeks ago, you look at this, you go, great. Like, not only are the Jets and Falcons playing, but I'm not going to have a choice. I have to watch it. See, there are certain games that we watch during the year in our journey as football talkers that make you question your life choices. Like how, you know what I'm saying? And I thought that the Jets and Falcons were going to be one of those games, but no, actually, both of these teams coming in off of, Atlanta didn't win, but Atlanta had a competitive game, which, the moral victory, the Jets get the win. But yeah, the biggest story here is if Zach Wilson and this team can build on the stirring overtime win over the Titans. And I was reminded, I can't remember who tweeted it, Cease, but remember when it was out there that, Trevor Lawrence should be happy he avoided the Jets. That story has certainly gotten flipped. Zach Wilson part of something good. Maybe Elijah Moore will be back, but I still think that it's Corey Davis on those deep improvisational plays and Jamison Crowder, the trusted wide receiver in PPR leagues. I think you got to have him in this matchup. And then, of course, Michael Carter trying to, I don't want to say take control of this backfield because the running game is still going to be underwhelming. Mekhi Becton will be back soon. We'll see if this offense starts to function better. But yeah, it's all about the momentum. It's all about the confidence in this team. And I will say that, so part of the reason that, I don't want to say it's hard to take Zach Wilson seriously, but it's hard to see him really leading a team in the way that it seems like he is already, is because he just looks so young. He looks, unlike Joe Burrow, who looks like a 50-year-old guy in his early 20s, Zach, but you can see, I think, in that game last week that he welcomes that. See, there's a certain thing I think they can't really gauge and draft quarterback scouting until they're on the other side of it and they're really in the NFL, especially in a market like New York. And there was all of that talk, like, can Zach Wilson handle this? It's a lot on his shoulders to go from BYU to New York and the Jets. And I think he's got it, Cease. I think that he wants it. And he wants it in a more genuine way, speaking about genuine versus fake, than Baker Mayfield, who we'll talk about later.
Yeah. Yeah, Baker Mayfield, who's aging decades by the week. So, and Matt Ryan, I guess we got to talk about
exactly.
Matt Ryan now,
Speaking
right?
of aging, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of aging and not so very good, it is Matt Ryan. Okay. Fantasy GMs will, don't forget to put in Cordarrelle Patterson.
Right.
And that's, you just don't have confidence in your Falcons, Bloom, no matter who it is. Ridley or whoever, but it's against the Jets. Maybe they do a little something this week.
So you have a little more confidence coming off. I mean, again, Washington's defense is bad. Pass defense is bad. So you have confidence coming off of good performance. It's funny because in the fantasy atmosphere's hive mind seats, this is the week that everyone's like, well, I guess I need to start Cordarrelle Patterson. Everybody's going to start him this week. Yeah. This is also the sell high week. And we'll see. We'll see if he's a dud or on that stage in London on national TV, if he shows everyone that he's here to stay. Calvin Ridley, like you said, it's just this pass offense is not going to have a vertical element now. So Ridley's going to still rack up catches and yards. Really, for me, my heart hurts when I say that Kyle Pitts. There's moments, there's flashes. I hope my latest self-deception I'm buying into is that just like Zach Wilson, even Trevor Lawrence getting a little more comfortable at giving him more of the green light to pull down the ball and run when he's not seeing it against coverage. Maybe Pitts can get a little more custom. It's the Jets. So I hope that this is a week that we have something better to say. But this game is going to be more entertaining. At least I anticipate it being more entertaining than I expected because there's some good stories here, especially Zach Wilson.
Especially Zach Wilson. Good stories abound with Green Bay. Okay, Green Bay. I guess A.J. Dillon's a thing now. It's against Cincinnati, so we could actually see more of Dillon. We could see him run away with this game. Cincinnati will be plucky, Bloom. They'll put up a fight, but your normal Packers that you would consider, well, keep considering them, of course, and then I guess a dash more of Randall Cobb. We're seeing a dash more of A.J. Dillon. Maybe it's another nice week for those two as well.
I'm excited to watch this game. Legit, Cease. I'm going to be really.
The Bengals are fun.
They are
as an opponent. We already know the Packers, but the Bengals are fun.
Yeah, they're a feel-good team, and I'm not really sure what the Packers are yet this year. They beat San Francisco in that good back and forth game. There ain't nothing proud about beating the Steelers this year the way they beat the Steelers. The New Orleans humbled them in week 1. I don't even know what happened in that game. Okay, they beat Detroit, whatever, that doesn't count. So I don't know. I think Cincinnati should entertain ideas of winning this game. But you've got Rodgers, Adams, like you said, and Cobb. And Cobb's, this is one of those ones that messes with those metric C's, like routes run and snaps and things like that, because he wasn't even on the field half of the time. But if Rodgers is looking for him, then that's the guy who benefits from Valdez-Scantling being on IR, not Alan Lazard, who's getting the snaps. Robert Tonyan actually had a ton of targets, so if you're still sticking with, or at least talking about the hold on segment on the Waiver Wire show, that may be a reason to hold on to him. Like you said, A.J. Dillon used as a finisher. I don't think this is a game necessarily they're going to run away from Cincinnati, though. I think Cincinnati is coming together as an offense, coming together as a team, so maybe it is a little more of an Aaron Jones game than what we had last week. But see, I'm also wanting to talk about, again, it's the Steelers. The Packers' defense is not good. They haven't looked like a good defense in any game that I've watched them this year. No. And again, I think Cincinnati's got a good offense, so I've got hope for the Bengals to go 4-1 here.
Well, and I've got hope for offensive showdown because it's all about my fantasy team, right?
Yeah, right.
And with Cincinnati side, they can keep up with it. Now, how much does the Mixon thing bother you in terms of he's banged up already? Samaje Perine, fine, motorboat, don't throw him the ball. But you've got your other assets, certainly. And I guess we're waiting on the health status of Higgins. No, because we had, Auden Tate in last week. But you still have Tyler Boyd. You have Jamar Chase, of course, and maybe even a tight end fantasy GMs will look to.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot here now, right? Again, going back to Thursday night, I really felt like it was the first time on an NFL field that I saw LSU Joe Burrow. I saw that Joe Burrow that was just in command. in command. And now you're going to give him back T. Higgins. We see what he's doing with Jamar Chase. Hey, not a bad idea reuniting him with his number one receiver. You know what Tyler Boyd's going to do. You add in C.J. Uzoma. Again, set up on those run-after-catch opportunities by Burrow's hyper accuracy in command. And again, it's not a good pack. Jair Alexander's hurt. And Deontay Johnson actually roasted him last week anyway for the touchdown, the one good play the Steelers offense had. So, yeah, you think you like everybody in this offense this week, including Burrow and Uzoma if you need a tight end. And then we get to the running backs. We'll see. Week to week, to me, Cease always implies there's going to be a missed week. Day to day means he's got a chance to play. Week to week means, let's see, we'll examine it again next week. But maybe Nixon will play. But like Dalvin Cook, you almost hope for, if you have him on your fantasy team, number one, if he sits, it gives you more clarity on who to play. And number two, it reduces the chance of an aggravation that extends this. And I don't know if that happened with Cook last week. Paul was reassuring, Paul Charchian on the couch. But P. Ryan, he doesn't have what Mixon has. Mixon's a very talented runner, but he's stubborn. He's got a good all-around set, passing down skills. So I think P. Ryan would be a perfectly fine running back too, and someone with easily a chance. Have a game like, speaking of the Packers, like Jamal Williams would have last year. Not exactly breaking off long runs, but very efficient, a goal line option. And again, I'm just excited about the Bengals.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm glad you brought up Jamal Williams because it's a perfect segue to Detroit and Minnesota. And DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, is that going to be more of a committee? It seems like it's one guy 1 week, nobody for 2 weeks, the other guy the next week. Like, that's kind of the path that we followed. What did I write up yesterday? I think there was a story about this where somebody on the coaching staff was like, it's going to be both. Like, we're going to use both. We're willing to ride the hot hand. This is ESPN's Eric Woodyard. Had wrote that yesterday about them using both. And then Dan Campbell comparing Jamal Williams to either Mark Ingram or Latavius Murray back during his time with the Nolans Saints. So, yeah, and Jamal Williams, friend of the show, hell of a back, man. He could be the only back there, and they'd be more than fine. But this is that 50-50 splitting headache bloom for the Lions.
Well, what we've seen is that Swift is the one that's more capable of doing something with what he gets, but yeah, it's going to remain somewhere in that 65-35 range, although it can swing back and forth. You wonder how much Swift being on the injury report plays into this. And we had that first week when they were both running back ones, and we thought, wow, this could be a bonanza. But now we've seen each player's floor, and we're waiting. Swift had a ceiling game in between there. Minnesota, is their defense good? It looked pretty good last week, but Baker Mayfield did not look good, so it's hard to tease those two things apart. You're excited maybe about Detroit's offense because they're losing badly. I mean, they lost Romeo Okwara, so they've lost Jeffrey Okudah, Romeo Okwara, and they cut Jamie Collins. I mean, what's left on this defense? It wasn't that great of a defense to begin with. So the garbage time for Goff as a quarterback to Superflex, you're going to stick with T.J. Hawkinson. See, I am starting to get the T.J. Hawkinson or questions. T.J. Hawkinson or Dalton Schultz, T.J. Hawkinson or Dawson Knox. I'm not ready to bail on him yet, just because, again, the pass, they're going to have to run this offense through the pass. Likely the come from behind game script here. Minnesota's defense may be coming on, but as Paul Charchian pointed out on the couch this week, hey, they're letting Kirk throw. I mean, they're letting him cook. Let Kirk cook.
Yeah, let Kirk be a weirdo.
Let Kirk make like short order. If Kirk is a cook, he's like a short order diner cook.
He's the guy that grabs anything from the pantry and just throws it together. Like, I got a tater tot ramen casserole for you.
Right.
Like, there you go. That's Kirk Cousins.
That actually sounds pretty good, actually.
It actually was. I made it in college. I made it in college, so it was really good. Tater tots and ramen. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But salsa on a donut doesn't work. I've tried it. It doesn't work. Anyway, Kirk Cousins is that guy. I hate saying nice things about Kirk Cousins. Such a weirdo. Yeah, whatever. But I do love the rest of the Minnesota offense. And then, well, you had charts on the couch yesterday, man. So Fantasy GMs concerned with Cook. For those that may have missed it or not yet watched it, were the concern levels there?
Yeah, and Charge was reassuring, basically saying it was probably a bottoming out week for Cook, and he was not really sounding any alarm bells. So I'm watching the practice participation. As long as he's not a game time decision, I guess even if he is a game time decision, well, see, that's the thing. You go back and try it again because last week he was not. I don't even know if he truly was a game time decision, but we had to wait until Sunday to know. And well, it didn't go well against Cleveland. Cleveland's defensive line was pretty good. But I think if Cook's active, you have to play him. I would expect him to be active. And you're going to play Jefferson. You're going to play Thielen. Kirk Cousins, it's Detroit. I mean, I think I'm not saying you're going to force him in your lineup over Josh Allen or Kyler Murray, but if you have Kirk Cousins, he's going to be a very attractive option for you this week. We'll see Conklin, Osborne. Between the two, we can get one good fantasy game. So, what the heck flex, what the heck tight end type plays there. But this is a Minnesota team season. It's funny because Charch, he's very, his heart is very much with the Vikings in addition to being all up in that market. And I was saying, hey, why not Minnesota? They can play with anybody in the NFC. I mean, who stringing together 3 wins in the playoffs? I could see Minnesota doing that with how this team is coming together with what they have on offense. But then, like you said, Cease, that means saying something nice about Kirk Cousins. So we should just talk about the next game.
We should just talk about that or about more ramen noodles. By the way, it seems like the chat room loves when the couch goes off the rails.
Yeah, it's hard, right? See, this is the thing. So don't encourage me. This is what I always want to say. Don't encourage me. But yet, Cease, our audience, and you encourage me. However, I feel like, as I joke with Charch, if the world needs one thing, it's more fantasy football analysis. There's so much fantasy football analysis, and lots of it's as good or better than what we do here. So it's almost like if you're still here hanging out with us when there's so much deep, dense fantasy football analysis out there, then I know you can get that elsewhere. So why not just be human beings? See, so I'm thinking about your food blog. Like, I wish there was food blogs back in the 90s, so you could have done a food blog when you were doing all these things, salsa on a donut, the tater tot ramen. I feel like we missed a chance to learn a lot.
Hell, I had Facebook back in college. We called it the Wall of Free Expression. And when you came to our room, you would sign something, or you would post a picture, or you would put up stuff. Like, so we already had that.
There you go.
It was like the Wall of Free Expression. And then, yeah, there you go. Story time is what our man Jason, pot stoner degenerate. The Raiders lose and you didn't show up, buddy. I'm just saying, we were all talking about it.
Yeah.
We were all talking about you. Mm-hmm.
We try to summon him.
We'll all be talking about Denver and Pittsburgh. That was a hot segue, huh?
Yeah.
We don't know who's going to start at QB for the Broncos. If it's Drew, good luck. There's a lot of people. I opened the phone lines last night on Nick and Cecil about, hey, do you want Brett Rippon to start? And probably 75% of people wanted Rippon over Locke. It was alarming to me.
Ooh, that's emotional.
Yeah, it was very alarming because I thought, we got some Locke supporters, which is fine. But Drew Locke, hasn't learned. I thought he would. I tweeted about it because that's the most important thing ever, right?
Yeah.
I thought he would learn from Teddy. I thought he would be better. I thought he'd be prepared. Nope, none of that. Oh, give him a week of practice. He'll still suck. Okay? Now there are others coming out and suggesting, part of the struggles are because Locke's not that bright. There's people suggesting that, Bloom.
All right,
if you want to take that as a lassie bark, then so be it. But that goes back into it, man. Give me a quarterback that's smart and accurate. I don't care about his arm. I don't care about his swag. I don't care he wears his shooting sleeve on his passing arm. None of that matters. None of that matters. Do you understand what the defense is doing? Can you isolate and eliminate before the snap? And Locke doesn't do those things. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
So because of that, and then the Pat Shurmur effect is in full effect because once you get down by a field goal, he abandons the ground game. Once one run gets stuffed, I guess we can't run. We just won't run. Melvin Gordon's playing good football. I don't like Melvin Gordon. It's not personal. I just, whatever. Javonte Williams, obviously I love, and he's running well, Bloom.
Yeah.
But he's getting, 7 carries, 12 carries instead of 25 like he should be. But this is Pat Shurmur. So you have an inept coach. You have a fake Fangio every day. There you go, Jason.
There it is.
Every day. It's a bunch of BS. John Harbaugh. Harbaugh acted like a real coach. Vic Fangio acted like a sore loser. So they're 3-1. They're going against Pittsburgh, and I really don't have an answer for anybody because we don't know who the quarterback is. And by the way, Pat Shurmur's your OC. So you have a fake head coach and you have a lousy OC. Good luck mining any fantasy gold from this one.
Yes, Cease, and we don't need, you don't need to blog how it is to cover the Broncos because you play it out for us. There's the real story of the Audible. Sometimes Cease, it's a Broncos show, right? Is just how it is for you to cover this team, as you have to do the best you can to let us have insight into what's happening and anticipate where it's going, but still you have to access game and everything else, and it creates tension. And what really creates tension here is, like you said, the layers of problems, right? Like what Drew Lock is capable of or not capable of. He's not really capable of what Pat Shurmur wants him to do. Pat Shurmur is too impulsive, and they don't have an identity on offense. So there's a layer of problems with the quarterback play when Lock is involved, especially, and just having clarity. So, Cease, I look at this game and I feel like ugly, right? Like something I don't understand is people that go out and like want to get in a fight. My stepdad was like that though. Mike Belsky, professional boxer. Like he didn't want to get in a fight, but he was hoping someone would want to start a fight with him. But I know that there are people that are like, I want to, maybe it's like the tension built up, right? Like I'm going to go out tonight and I'm going to start a fight with somebody. I'm not sure who.
Oh, there's a lot of psychological things there. I had a buddy, Mark Baca, and I'll name his name. And you remember Big Sean, but like, Mark, the first time him and I went to the bar, we got in a fight. Like we did, just because he always wanted to fight. And then we'd go out, and we'd go, hey, let's go play pool after work. And there'd be some other guys over there playing pool, and he's just talking trash on these.
Right.
And these are like preppy guys. They got the polo and they got the sweater around. And I'm like, there's no way these guys want to throw down. And Mark's just over there like calling them every name in the book that you can't say on air.
You got it.
Just to pick a fight. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
First off, these guys don't want to fight. They're just here to have a good time. Secondly, they couldn't do anything if they tried. Like, what are you doing? So yes, I personally can't stand that lower level of consciousness. Sorry, Mark, he's still a friend, but like I can't stand that lower level of like, I gotta prove how tough I am every day.
Every day. I think that the Steelers probably want to prove how tough they are right now. Yeah. And I think the Broncos, just because of the way that the team is, probably has that too, speaking of tension, right? So I just see that fight of the two dudes that go out to the bar and want to get in a fight and find each other, and it's just going to be an ugly game. Like tables getting knocked over, bottles breaking and clanking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is going to be a bar fight game. There's not going to be a lot of good execution on offense.
No.
There's going to be a lot of hitting. I hope not, but I feel like this is a game where you're probably going to see injuries. You know what I mean? I just think this is going to be a game that is not going to make your fantasy lineup. If Locke is starting, I'm not playing any Bronco. Why? Why would you play any Bronco if Locke is starting? I think it's in Pittsburgh, okay? I think it's going to be ugly. And and you want to talk about ugly, we can talk about the Steelers.
Yeah, talk about the Steelers for sure. And Big Ben, it seems like Najee's coming alive. It seems like that, and as a runner, obviously we saw, what do you have, that 16 catches or whatever it was a couple of weeks ago? Like, okay, yeah, we get it. Najee can be a dangerous receiver, but as a runner, it seems like he's coming alive, which is the key that I thought they would use this year, Bloom. I thought they would use Najee, keep Ben kind of limited, and they haven't really done that until last week. Does that continue going forward?
I mean, yeah, right. The fact that this is going to be a 10-7 kind of game plays into the Steelers' offensive philosophy. But they wanted to run the ball. They wanted to establish the run. I think Harris is up to taking on a Derrick Henry, kind of there with Alabama again, workload level. They did crease a few times. Again, Packers defense not good, but fell behind and went away from the run. They won't fall behind enough that they have to abandon the run in this one. So it could be a game where Harris gets going. Deontay Johnson, that chemistry is still there. Roethlisberger has a hip issue now, so we're going to watch that if it's Mason Rudolph. But that's the thing, Cease, right? Like Steelers fans, emotionally, it's not difficult to go back to when Roethlisberger was out a few years ago, and the defense sometimes would keep the team in a game. Duck Hodges, right? Mason Rudolph. And it was still kind of exciting because the defense would keep the team in a game. Maybe you would just have a guy make a play or two on offense, and they could scratch out these wins, and you thought maybe you can scratch out enough wins just to see what this team can do, even though they don't have Roethlisberger. It was the Minka Fitzpatrick year, and and now it's like it doesn't matter that they have Roethlisberger. It's the same feeling, right? It's the same feeling. Like the team is going to have to win in spite of the offense. The team's going to have to drag the offense to a victory. So we'll see if Chase Claypool's back. But I just think, again, this is not going to be every game like we saw with the Steelers winning the opening game against Buffalo. That's what it's going to have to be, a blocked punt. Last week, the blocked field goal was overturned by penalty. So lightning needs to strike, and there's enough intensity with Tomlin and these players that they can make it strike, but not necessarily every week.
Lightning strikes, but in Miami, what is it? It's like, that was actually a sparkler. It wasn't lightning.
Right.
Miami side first against the Buccaneers on Sunday, and I hope you didn't have much Will Fuller stock. If you did, summer stock. You should have already known what was going to happen. It's happened. I guess Tua's making progress with his injury, whatever. Maybe more Jalen Waddle. It's against Tampa, Bloom. So are you starting any Dolphins player this week?
Yeah, this is the interesting matchup, the Florida matchup. Florida. I'm going to play Twilight Zone. See, if I had like the clip board where I could just press the button and get the clip, I would put in the Twilight Zone music here. Florida, the Florida teams, and they both are kind of in the Twilight Zone of the Bermuda Triangle. With Miami, again, I keep coming back to this idea that they had the pieces in place for a rebuild, but Brian Flores is not executing it. And this team is very quickly becoming a team that's not a credible team. You are probably going to see Jacoby Brissett pass a lot in this one. So for fantasy, that becomes interesting, talking about it on the couch, about pass volume and some defenses that you're not going to run the ball against Tampa. Myles Gaskin, they're already going away from anyway. Like, please, Malcolm Brown doesn't need to touch the ball more than 6 times in this game. Please. Play calling problems, the co-offensive coordinator, scuttlebutt again, Chris Kaufman referring to it, that there's problems with that whole setup. Yes, you'll play Parker. Yes, you'll play Waddle because they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. Gesicki, who Brissett really likes to throw to. Yes, you're going to play them. So this is a good week to put your Dolphins passing game pieces in DFS lineups, in your fantasy lineups. But I'm still watching Cease the story of where is this all headed with Flores? Because it doesn't it feels like, again, we're in the Bermuda Triangle, and eventually the blip is just going to disappear from the radar, and the Dolphins are going to start over yet again.
Again, here we go. And with Tommy Brady, again, here we go. And, well, we know now Fantasy GMs looking more to Leonard Fournette. Like, where's the interesting part here? I don't think Gronk should be back. I mean, he had a punctured lung, dude. Like, just let him come back for the playoffs, right? Do what Brett Favre would do. Brett Favre would still play today if he's like, can I just play in the playoffs? Like, yeah, okay. Let Gronk sit, OJ Howard here. But I think the most interesting part of Tampa is Leonard Fournette trustworthy now?
Yeah, and this particular matchup could be interesting because, like Belichick, Flores knows Brady.
Yes.
Flores has practiced against Brady for years and years and years. And the rational thing to do here, and how much of it is an execution of a game plan, how much of it on defense, how much of it is rain, how much of it is Gronk being out. And we know that's a big comfort zone thing. Obviously, now we can see the difference for Brady in the red zone without Gronk. But also, this is a Miami defense that we can go back to when Miami blew up the Death Star, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were giving Brady problems back then. So it's not necessarily signed, sealed, delivered big game for Brady. And it could be another Leonard Fournette game because it just makes sense to show Brady those light boxes and dare him to pass into tighter windows. That being said, without Gronk out there, it does seem like he's going to favor Antonio Brown. So I think break ties in favor of Antonio Brown in this one. And it's hard to put Evans or Godwin on the bench. And then we'll watch Fournette. We'll see. And last week it was Ronald Jones getting the touchdown. Fournette gets that touchdown. We're having a whole different conversation about him this week. Is he a running back one? Is he a lead back? But because Jones gets the touchdown, we overlook the fact that he had 20-plus touches, looked good. And I just think defenses, it makes sense to induce the Bucs to run. And I would expect that would be the approach that Miami would have this week. So what it all leads to for me is Tampa good? Is Tampa a good team? They barely beat Dallas. All right. They are okay. So they're able to win what Atlanta? Okay, they get humbled by the Rams. They barely beat New England, who Miami beat. So I could see them losing this game and us coming out of this one saying, like, is this a team? This team might have to fight to get in the playoffs because remember, they got hot in the playoffs last year. They weren't a dominant team during the regular season last year. So there's still a story playing out here with Tampa, and this game is part of it.
You know what we're coming up on, Bloom?
What's that?
Trade deadline.
Oh, yeah.
This could be the type of game, honestly, if they lose, where Tampa's like, we got to make some moves.
Yeah.
If you keep winning and you just keep winning, and then you're like, oh, we're fine. Like, no, if you lose this one to that team,
yeah,
you'd be like, oh, who's out there on the trade market we can go get?
That cornerback.
You're corner. You're in a Super Bowl window. Make sure you stay there. Moving on to the next game on Sunday slate. It's New Orleans versus Washington football team. And, well, Alvin Kamara can do anything, including play quarterback. I don't know. But Kamara also an ambassador for NASCAR. Bloom, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has ideas. Yeah, I think they should listen to him too. I would listen to him.
Yeah,
like if he came and said, "I've got ideas for the Audible," I would say, "Yeah, what do you got, man?"
Of course, yeah. If he said you both should get septum piercings, I would be like, "Sure,
yeah,
whatever." But let's talk about New Orleans side of things against Washington defense that's like super aggressive, but not as good as the aggression should show. Right.
New Orleans. This is, I talked to my 84, soon to be 85-year-old father, Sigmund L, yesterday. And before I even say hello, he says, "What happened to the Saints?" They're the Jekyll and Hyde team on offense and on defense. And you really don't know what you're going to get. So it's hard to predict this. I do think that you would expect Jameis Winston to have success against Washington's pass defense. Enough to play him in a one quarterback league? No. In a two quarterback league, maybe. Any of his targets? No. Not. Okay, Alvin Kamara, who didn't get a target last week. You can do something about that? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they just it's on the road, a miserable day, even though Washington's defense has been easy to solve. So in some ways, we're going to test, is Washington's pass defense going to inflate the value of every opponent's passing game so that we have to consider them more than we normally would, to the point of making some plays that don't feel wise whenever you click the check? Or is it maybe just the Jekyll and Hyde? Remember, Winston has either been excellent or terrible this year. It's Jameis Winston, man. He hasn't been throwing the spectacular interceptions, but his level of play has varied wildly from game to game. Taysom Hill lurks, and he's another one. He runs in 2 touchdowns, he throws an interception. So, am I depicting where we are with the Saints? Because it's kind of like the Saints in some ways this is how the season has felt to an extent, like an early David Lynch movie where you don't really understand what's happening. You don't really know if you've learned anything. It's entertaining. It feels like a little bit traumatizing, like a little bit like violating even sometimes the way things go down. But in the end, you want to keep watching more because you think one of these weeks is going to make sense. That's the Saints, especially this year.
That's especially heavy with those New Orleans Saints and with the Washington football team. What more does Taylor Heineke have to do? Because I love every week. It's like, he's actually good. Like, yes. He's been good since he came out of Old Dominion.
Yeah.
Not great, not the greatest ever, but like he's a good, solid quarterback and leading this team, adding in more targets, maybe some more wrinkles to this offense. J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson sharing that backfield time. And it's Jekyll and Hyde New Orleans, Bloom, which means, well, Washington get ready to score points.
Probably. Now, Heineke, I've already gushed about him enough, but what you love is he like Ryan Fitzpatrick, although Fitzpatrick's pretty athletic, but still, limited abilities with Heineke, but he gets the most out of what he has, and he challenges his guys to make plays, and he plays to win. He plays to take shots. If he's going to go down, he's going to go down swinging. So you really like that philosophy for fantasy football. Terry McLaurin might see a lot of Marshawn Lattimore, whatever. Again, Heineke's going to give him chances. No Logan Thomas. I'm not saying to play Curtis Samuel, but we're watching Samuel because he's got the deep speed. Scott Turner knows how to use him in the running game. We're going to see Ricky Seals-Jones. And Ricky Seals-Jones had one of the best touchdowns of the year so far. But that's about it. It's great that we're still talking about Ricky Seals-Jones, Ricky Heels Bones, and then the backfield. And I don't know, Seaside, just have a type, man. We all do. J.D. McKissick, I feel like that he's turning into a next level player, and because of this body type, we're not necessarily noticing it. And I'm not saying that the fantasy workload is going to be there for him every week. I'm not saying he's going to become an every week start, but I see a player that is getting better every year and doing the most with his opportunities with Antonio Gibson banged up, or just the fact that Washington's pass defense is going to keep them having to be more open on offense. I like McKissick. I think it's a good time to get him. I think we're going to be talking about him a lot this year.
Yeah, and you know who J.D. McKissick reminds me of? And I may be totally wrong here, but he reminds me of Justin Forsett.
Sure.
Where we'd see it and we're like, if he ever got something, and he never did, and then he finally did, and he was like
Right.
1,000-yard back.
Right.
You know, it's like one of those things. And yeah, size does play into that with the NFL. They're like, oh, he's too small to give him a bunch of work. But every time you give him work, he produces.
Right.
So give him more. Anyway, Philadelphia and Carolina, the final game we're going to wrap things up with in part 1 of the Week 5 preview here on the Audible, of course, brought to you by Footballguys.com. Eagles side first, and, well, nobody's starting Miles Sanders.
Right.
Yeah, nobody's, you're not feeling too good about that one. Devontae Smith, you might be feeling better about that. Tim McManus, we don't talk about Tim as much, but ESPN.com says the Eagles are creeping closer to timeshare with Kenneth Gainwell. So sabotage drop for Sanders, and then pick up Gainwell and ride the hot hand approach. And the hotter hand has been Gainwell. So that's the part to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of fantasy lens and just see. And then we'll see Zach Ertz cut into Dallas Goedert time and be frustrated. And as all get out. So there you go if you've got Goddard. So Eagles are pretty standard just watching this running back situation to see how and if it changes.
Yeah, you're going to play Jalen Hurts. Like you said, you might play Devontae Smith. The problem is the big passing outburst last week, how much of that was just facing Kansas City in a game that they were trailing? Is it going to be there? Carolina? Is Carolina's defense good? I don't know. They played with some bad teams and New Orleans on a day that it was, which one is it, Cease? Which one's the monster? Mr. Hyde? Mr. Hyde, I think. Jekyll's the doctor. Doctor implies
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Hyde's
so I'm trying to remember the Bugs Bunny. I'm like, okay.
The high art of Bugs Bunny.
Hey, I got introduced to opera with Bugs Bunny.
Exactly, and cross-dressing. So, Cease, we look at this Carolina defense, and we don't know if it's a good defense. But at the same time, I think that it's good enough that it's going to be better than Kansas City. So you might play Devontae Smith. Even the tight ends, okay, I think that's a particular weakness of Kansas City's defense, but what the heck tight end? Either one of them. I can't even tell you which one I would. I guess Ertz. Ertz is the one with the momentum. If I had to play one, even though Goddard gets more snaps. But it is about the backfield here and learning about what Carolina's defense. But the backfield situation is, and see, sometimes it becomes just as a bare truth, like it's up to Miles Sanders, man. It's up to Sanders. We know he has the physical ability. We also know Jay Moyer, Matt Waldman, many other people have laid this out. Like he oozed physical ability, but he didn't necessarily understand how to wield it into results, turn it into results. And you might say that about Barkley at times, Saquon Barkley, but Barkley has that generational physical talent. Miles Sanders is like as athletic as the most athletic back in a typical draft. But it's just not there. It's just not clicking. We've seen it. It comes in and out, Cease, like bad reception on a radio or television. Remember when we used to have reception on televisions? Anyway.
Do you know how many of our audience are like, I have no idea what
remember the vert hold and the horizontal anyway. So my point is we're going to watch it play out in real time. I think that Sanders can pull the sword from the stone and maybe find that next level, or this is just how it's going to go down. And he's like another Kenyon Drake or another player that we've already seen his peak. We've already seen his peak in the NFL. I don't know, unless he can reinvent himself. And certainly the onus is on him to do that. So whether you like Gainwell or Sanders, I don't think you're playing either one this week. Sanders, I think you keep on the bench until he makes you think you should have put him in, or like you said, see sabotage drop, which is a big drop in value from where he was even before the season as a 4th-round pick in fantasy drafts.
There we go. It is. Oh wait, we got to do Carolina. Hey, is Carolina good?
Yeah, again,
that's what we're going to find out, and how can they bounce back, and all the assets that They have, including Christian McCaffrey. Again, full disclosure for everyone, we're recording Wednesday morning. We don't know yet. The tests will be done. He's going to test out his hamstring. They didn't put him on short-term IR, so he could be back this week. So that's going to change how we talk about Carolina based on something we don't yet know, Bloom. So let's look into the future.
Yeah. Will McCaffrey be back, and is it a good thing if he's back? You know, we have these visions of last year whenever he didn't go on IR but was gone longer than we wanted him to be gone. So I trust the Panthers to handle this the right way. But like you said, are they a good team? Are they a good offense? I mean, Philadelphia's defense, they played San Francisco pretty tough, but Dallas was able to boat race them. Kansas City was able to boat race them. I don't think Carolina's going to do that. But I expect enough success. But the thing is, this is such a narrow offense. It's going to be more. And even if McCaffrey's out, I'm not sure if it's Hubbard, even though Philadelphia has shown after a strong start against the run that maybe they are a pretty easy run defense to beat because we saw Hubbard get less than half of the snaps last week. Now, it wasn't a good game script for him either. A lot more Rodney Smith in the second half. Robbie Anderson is another hold on because he got 11 targets last week. So that's what you're looking for here against Philadelphia. And then we have Sam Darnold, the runner, and we'll see. I mean, if he can keep this up as a fantasy quarterback 1C, sometimes it doesn't make sense, but you just stop arguing with it. I think Cordarrelle Patterson, that's that week for him. It's that week for Darnold. Interesting yardstick game for two teams that are enigmas right now.
You know what else doesn't make sense? The fact that the Jets didn't take the 49ers offer.
Yeah.
It was before Zach Wilson's pro day. And think of Sam Darnold in San Francisco, right? Think of Sam Darnold running that offense. Like, okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting. They wanted to see, they were worried about Zach Wilson's shoulder. That's why the Jets didn't jump. And the 49ers were like, okay, screw it. We'll just move up to number 3. And they did it. Trey Lance, here we come. It's a Trey Lance show? I don't know.
Part 2.
Part 2. Part 2. Trey Lance. Yeah, there we go. All right. Adam says Sig and C's for the win. That's right. You know how we win? Because life is very interesting, Bloom. And what I always say to people is like, the equation is fairly simple. Getting to the answer that you want. So what is the answer that you want? Well, what do I have to do to get to the answer that I want? The do stuff you got to do, whatever. What's the answer that I want? I'm going to go for that. The answer that we want is more likes, shares, comments, subscriptions, notification bells so that you never miss a vid. And we'll do the work. You worry less, you win more. It's footballguys.com. Go to our website, click that orange button that says join now, top right-hand corner, and join us on this football journey. We certainly appreciate everyone out there for watching. Love our chat room for commenting. Make sure to leave a comment below. Helps the algorithm and such, and gets it pushed out to other people in recommended videos. I was actually looking at some of our data. I was like, we could use some more recommendations. We definitely have a lot of repeat viewers, so that's very good, and we appreciate everyone for participating and for checking out our channel on Football Guys TV here, youtube.com/footballguystv. We have the Audible, we have the On the Couch, we have IDP Blitz, we have the Dynasty Newsletter Show, we have the Dynasty Show, we have the Mailbag Show. Very, very, very good. So some great shows. Can't forget our DFS show either, the Power Grid that comes up usually late Thursday night, Friday morning. So make sure to stay tuned for that as well. We've got you covered now with more subscribers. So keep it up. And thank you guys for liking, comment, share, subscribe, all those sorts of things. It's our little dance that we do at the end of the show. He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter, and that is at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammey. The show is at the Audible, everyone. See you tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.